Hello and welcome to Bureau Bites, a regular pod bite bringing you news from Vietnam and the region. I'm Matt Cowan, the Bureau Chief and your host. Thank you for joining me for this quick bite. Well, in an episode of Bureau Bites earlier this week, I reported that Ho Chi Minh City officials made the decision to close District 1 bars and nightclubs from last Saturday, March 14th at 6 p.m. as a measure to contain COVID-19. Hot on the heels of that decision, it was decided that bars and nightclubs in all 24 districts of Saigon would then be closed from the following Sunday evening at 6 p.m. until further notice. Restaurants, however, were exempt from the decision and have been allowed to remain open. Since the decision almost a week ago, one high-profile case involving a British man found to be carrying COVID-19 and who visited a bar in District 2 on 2 occasions has emerged, creating confusion in the meantime as to which businesses should and shouldn't be operating. There appears to be a grey area regarding the licensing of venues, which in turn is allowing owners to flout the government directives. Regardless of the details of the confusion, the incident involving the British man has sent a jolt through the small Taudian community that until this time had managed to have no known cases of COVID-19. I asked hospitality industry insider Richie Fawcett from the studio Saigon his thoughts on the situation and its possible impact on the hospitality industry in Saigon for the foreseeable future. Richie, thank you for joining Bureau Bites.
Thank you, Matt, for calling me. I hope you're keeping safe and well with the current situation going on.
Richie, in light of the news recently that someone who we now know was carrying COVID-19 went and drank at the same bar in Saigon twice this past week, what are your thoughts on that, given that there was supposed to be a lockdown on bars in all districts of Saigon?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, number one, obviously the bar should have been closed. They should have adhered to that lockdown notice that was issued prior to the date of the person drinking. Number two, I think the social distancing has been advised for quite some time now, well over a week, and the individual concerned should have taken heed of that advice. But I think in this case, it's a wake-up call. It's happened, okay. In retrospect, let's just wake up and learn from that and make sure that it's time to stay in.
In your opinion, what impact is COVID-19 going to have on the hospitality industry in Saigon for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, well, it's happening now. I mean, it's real. It's happening now. The reality is the longer the ban, obviously, it's going to be an issue of cash flow. So obviously rent, overhead. So you've got staff that need to be paid. All these huge financial burdens are, let's just say, they're absorbed by bigger groups. The individual operators are the ones that are more vulnerable in this kind of situation. Groups with the deeper pockets than the individual operators will fare the storm, I believe. Sadly, the independent and interesting operations perhaps will be forced to close and maybe permanently. The bigger groups are going to be seeing this as an opportunity, I think, once the storm blows over, and it will blow over, to secure the new sites that have become available due to the forced closures of small operators occupying these good sites. They've probably been having their eye on for a while. Unfortunately, the bars are going to stay closed for a while, but that's going to lead to innovation, which is perhaps, let's just say, the mother of necessities is born from extreme situations. So there is a silver lining. Unfortunately, it's a very dark cloud on it.
What innovations in hospitality do you predict might come out of all this?
Well, I mean, look, let's just say the hospitality industry in the world is very innovative anyway. And there's always creative ways of making new recipes, for example, and teaching methods. Especially in Saigon, in Vietnam, the hospitality community is extremely tight. We support each other. There are definitely going to be longer Facebook posts from individual operators. On Instagram, online teaching, for example, from the bigger, say the industry spirit providers, like Pernod Ricard and Diageo and the likes. They're going to be obviously having their brand ambassadors going online, Instagram, teaching what basically used to be, taught by going around individually to bars. Bartenders will finally remember to wash their hands because, let's face it, the last 10 years I've been here, I've been teaching any bartender who knows that they've been taught under me, ruotei, which means in Vietnamese, wash your hands, don't touch your face. And finally, hopefully, this will be something this generation will never forget. Deliveries, food. Obviously, those bars that do have the food option on their menus are going to be exploiting that opportunity. Possibly even cocktails, who knows? The ones that are really, truly innovative could go down the bottle cocktail route, which we used to do in Sri about six years ago or so. And it was actually quite effective. So, but in any way to get that product out into the people's homes. So yeah, I think it's time to learn more in innovate healthy recipes. I'm developing the last final pages for Cocktail Art Saigon Volume 2, which has been in the making for the last say three years or so. But now I've got time to finish it. And I think it's now we look at this as being when the sun's shining, it's time to fix the roof, because basically people have got time on their hands and looking at all those different aspects of their businesses where perhaps they never thought that they had time to fix, and now they've got time to fix it.
And finally, on a lighter note, if you were to create a cocktail to sum up the situation we find ourselves in, what would it be like?
Well, I'm inspired by history, as you know, and I found something that refers to the writer F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby. So I've been inspired by that story. The cocktail is called the Great Gatsby, or the Great G&T. Basically gin, ginger, honey, lemon, tamarind, turmeric sprinkle, and it can be chilled in a martini coupe or served up with soda at the top. Simple, refreshing, very healthy. If I may, I don't know if I have time or not, but if I can read out this little excerpt here. It's a letter from F. Scott Fitzgerald, quarantined in 1920 in the south of France during the Spanish influenza outbreak, which is very pertinent to the occasion. So, dearest Rosemary, it was a limpid, dreary day, hung as in a basket from a single dull star. I thank you for your letter. Outside, I perceive what may be a collection of fallen leaves tossing against a trash can. It rings like jazz to my ears. The streets that are empty, it seems as though the bulk of the city is retreated to their quarters, and rightfully so. At this time, it seems very poignant to avoid all public spaces, even the bars, as I told Hemingway. But to that, he punched me in the stomach, to which I asked whether he had washed his hands. He hadn't. He is much dirtier than that one, to deny it. Why he considered the virus to be just influenza. I'm curious about his sources. The officials have alerted us to ensure that we have a month's worth of necessities, and Zelda, that's his wife, and I have stocked up on red wine, whiskey, rum, vermouth, absinthe, white wine, sherry, gin, and, Lord, if we may need it, brandy. Please pay for us.
Well, that's all for this Bureau Bite. If you like what you heard, please review the Bureau podcast wherever you get your podcasts. This has been Matt Cowan. Until our next Pod Bite, keep up to date with what's happening in Vietnam and the region by going to thebureauasia.com and visiting Facebook and Instagram at The Bureau Asia.